Hello, I'm your host, Diona Doherty, and welcome to the V Revolution podcast, brought to you by women's intimate health brand, Balance Active. Today we're going to be decoding some of the weird, wacky and wonderful things about the female brain and body.
And hi, I'm Dr. Priya, and today we're deep diving into those conversations about menopause, because let's be real ladies, we're all in this together. If you have any concerns about something that we say, don't hesitate to contact your local GP.
So grab your favourite cuppa and let's revolutionise how we talk about intimate health. Menopause. Menopause is a conversation that a lot of us skip having because we don't really know too much about it. I don't think we learn a lot about it in school when we're growing up. It can be very confusing. It's a very challenging time in our lives. So we are joined by the perfect candidate to answer some of those questions. It is the fabulous, the remarkable Michelle Griffith-Robinson. Hi.
Hi, darling.
Thank
Ladies,
you so much.
let's get going. This is my subject matter.
This is your bag, baby.
It's my bag, baby.
Isn't it?
It's my bag.
For anyone who doesn't know who you are, it's a crime. But tell us a little bit, quick background and what brought you here today.
So I'm an Olympian, a life coach, menopause ambassador, and advocate for all women's health, women's empowerment. And actually, I went through menopausal symptoms about 5 years ago when actually I had no idea what was going on. So I was just like, why am I being uptight, anxious, suffering palpitations, low libido? And actually there was nowhere out there. And you know what? I'm a black woman and it's very hard for us as black women to talk about these things openly without judgment. So hence why I'm now everywhere talking about it and normalising the conversation.
Yeah.
And my kids are like, oh, Mum, you're not banging on about menopause again.
You're like, yes,
but
I
I'm
am.
like, yes, I am. And actually my two girls are now like, Mum, I'm glad what you do, because actually you're helping us and you're paving the way. And that's one thing we have to remember. We're constantly paving the way for others.
So you're a mum, you've got 3 kids, and if you just said there you've got 2 daughters.
Yeah.
So obviously that must lay such an importance on this conversation for you, because I assume, like you're saying there, by the time you went through menopause, you were like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I have no idea, because the education just isn't there.
Yeah.
So that's something that you're helping for your daughters to navigate more smoothly.
Absolutely.
So talk me through when you first started getting symptoms of the menopause. I'm a little bit away from that yet.
Yeah.
So what should I be looking out for? Because it doesn't seem to happen overnight.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things there. I would say to everybody, every woman, every man, everyone that's got in reach of having a female near them, get yourself clued up on perimenopausal symptoms.
Right.
So perimenopause, which Dr. Priya, you will definitely enhance what I'm going to say and correct me as well, is this before you go into menopause. Menopause is 12 months after you've had your last period. So I'm perimenopausal still. I'm 52 years old and I'm still having regular periods.
Right.
So, but my symptoms have started, like I said, 5 years beforehand. And
Wow, so I didn't realise you still had periods going through the menopause. I'm sure you know that, being a doctor.
So when you go through the menopause, you don't have any periods for 12 months.
Okay.
But the perimenopause is the same symptoms, is the period before that, where you still have the symptoms, so you can still have your hot flushes, you can still have, reduced sex drive, palpitations, headache, a huge range of symptoms, but you have still got your period, or you've had a period within the last 12 months.
Right. So there's so many misconceptions, isn't there? Like, people don't really know, me being one of them, exactly like what the process is. And I assumed it was like bang that day that the periods stop.
No.
So talk me through, Michelle, how that impacts like your self-esteem, your confidence, and sort of the person who you are.
So you have to think to yourself, you're going into this change, this period of life. And actually, I'm a life coach, so I always look at things, if my glass is full, spilling over. There's a lot of pluses about being midlife. For one, you don't take as much nonsense as you did when you were younger. So that's a big tick. So again, but in terms of who you are, but you do suffer go through that journey of, you start to doubt, with brain fog that comes, which is one of the biggest symptoms that I found. You start to doubt your excellence, and you start to think, oh, am I good enough? And these are all things that the insecurities they add up. Yeah. So then they start to make you think, actually, how am I feeling? And that, when you look at it, you suffer from low self-esteem because of that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm now on, and I'm very proud to say it, I'm now on HRT and I'm on top of the world. I'm on my A game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel good. I've got the energy that was depleted before, because a lack of estrogen starts to make you feel tired all the time, headaches, joint aches, irritability, all of those things. But for me, I'm on HRT, which is stabilizing me. I'm on estrogen, progesterone and testosterone. But I do look at it as a holistic approach as well. So I sleep well, I eat well. I don't drink alcohol anyway, so it's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But looking at all these different factors, you can start to feel brilliant again. The best time of your life.
You just said there, like, I'm not afraid to say it, I'm on HRT.
Yeah.
And is that, so I'm coming at this from a world of I have no idea about this.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
And so is there an embarrassment then about taking HRT?
I'm going to say there's a little, sometimes people will be given a little bit of side eye, like, you're on HRT, I can't take it because of, medical reasons as well.
Right.
Some women that have had cancer choose not to take it and can't take it. And there does need to be more research, but I'm not a doctor and that's not my place to comment on that.
Yeah.
I'm just commenting from my point of view, what's worked for me. And I'm there to tell other women, do your research into it. Be well informed, because then it allows you to make really good decisions. And I've been involved with several different campaigns and working with different companies to try and get it out there for black and brown women to talk more about it, because there's a stigma with that. So I have seen in my social circles a lot of black women, they're not talking about taking HRT. No, I want to do it natural. All right, do it natural, that's cool.
But what does that mean?
Natural means take nothing and just sit there sweating. I ain't sweating.
I think this is just women, like, worldwide, where we're like, it's my cross to bear and I'll just have to weather the storm. It's this idea that we have to be martyrs.
Absolutely.
Is wild. Get the medicine into you.
And again, it's there are, and I get a lot of DMs from people saying, but I can't take it, and I say,
and that's different.
And I understand you can't take it, but there is stuff you can do. What's within your gift?
Yeah.
And I always say, what's within your control? So what's within your control is looking at your sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which again, Dr. Priya, you will definitely endorse what I'm saying. Sleep, nutrition, all of those things will add as a benefit to help you go through this. Don't get me wrong, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And it is like as if there's a black storm over you when your energy levels are at the bottom of the floor, and then you've got a fitness trainer like me saying, come on guys, let's go and train. Come on. And you're like, you don't get it. I've got no energy.
It's like catch-22 though. Like, I even find it difficult. I've had 2 kids in the past few years, and even that, like you're saying, like, your energy levels are so low, but if you do something like exercising or something that's going to benefit your mental health and getting out in the fresh air, that will in turn make you feel better. But it's taking that first plunge. Priya, what is HRT?
So HRT is hormone replacement therapy. So it consists of when you're going through the menopause, your estrogen levels reduce and also your progesterone levels go down. And so HRT is a way that we can replace these hormones that are reduced, because obviously having reduced hormones means that we have increased tiredness, it affects our muscles, it affects, it can cause brain fog, as we were saying, and it can cause this whole range of symptoms which we call the menopausal symptoms. And so it's important that we replace these. What we say that HRT is very similar to the combined pill. However, the combined pill has the hormone levels slightly increased because that's used to stop, pregnancies. Whereas with HRT, it's hormones at a lot lower level, and they're being used to, just replace those natural hormones. There are obviously risks with any medication.
Yeah, of course.
So when you do start HRT, you have to consult, your GP, your doctor.
And presumably it's something you have to get on prescription, or can you just buy it?
Prescription.
You have to
only.
speak to your GP.
Absolutely. But there are, a lot of women, as we were saying, who can't be on HRT. There are lots of other things that we can do. So in terms of sleep, I know that a lot of women who go through the menopause are really affected by lack of sleep. And this is because, this is due to the hot flushes usually causing periods where they wake up, and people get anxiety during the menopause, which can cause lack of sleep. So it's really important that when you have, if you can't take HRT to help this, that you have like a good sleep environment, cold room, you know.
Yes.
Like,
Bed to
meditate.
yourself.
Exactly.
Ta-ra, partner.
Exactly. Have your
We're
own
in
room.
separate rooms now. Yeah. All the romance is dead. Goodbye.
Come back when it comes back.
Yeah. But obviously then, so you're saying you go through the menopause and your libido, like
Perimenopause is
yeah.
perimenopause is where you're, unless you've got your estrogen topped up and your hormone levels topped up, is where you will find, and a lot of women are more open about it, like, oh my gosh, don't even touch me. Yeah. And these are subjects that we do need to talk about. You know, you need to talk about this so you don't feel like you're on your own.
Yeah, and
your
also,
libido hits the floor.
As you're saying too about the partners and the people that are around somebody who's going through menopause to also be educated and also know, because I feel like there would be so many partners who would take this personally. They're like, all of a sudden my partner does not want to have sex with me, does not want to be intimate, and so is our relationship over? But it's a season. Isn't it?
Well, I wouldn't call it a season. I would call it, and I don't really want to put a time on it, because you can't put a time on it. Because it can last longer for other people, and depends on when you get the intervention and how quickly you feel like doing something about it as well. So I would say that it's about making your partner and the people around you understand, and that goes to workplaces too, you know, for them to really understand how this affects you. And I always say to people, what can you do to support your partner going through this? What's within your gift? What can you support them with? Do you need a hug or a solution? You know, that's the biggest thing in my house in general.
Menopause or not menopause, right? Honestly, seriously, see if I'm like having a rant and my husband comes at me with a solution, I'm like, excuse me. All I needed was a hug.
A hug.
I don't need you to solve my problems today. I need you to listen to them.
Absolutely, a hug or a solution. So again, and that you know, it sounds very frivolous to say, but it really is. I just want you to listen to me, to hear me out, and then that way you can then go and see what you can do, you know. But I would say men, partners, educate yourselves, go and do the research. There's so much stuff out there. Find out, just put it in our little favourite Google, things will come at you. But also as well for women to go to their GPs equipped with a journal, explaining exactly how you're feeling, write it down, because you only get 10 minutes with your doctor, with your GPs. It's just life. So you can't go there and think, oh, I've forgotten. Brain fog kicks in, don't know what to say. Go there with your list, and that'd be my one tip, a list of how you're feeling, and do not leave that doctor's surgery until you've got a solution, because you don't need a hug from your doctors.
Yes, exactly. And I think as well, because as you're saying, like being prepared with a diary of stuff, because it doesn't happen overnight, and it's these like, and I'm sure that there's this interim period before you realise, I'm like possibly going through the menopause here.
Absolutely.
Where you're just like, am I losing my mind?
Absolutely.
And maybe you're getting gaslit from people who are like, you're losing your mind, and actually there's a reason. Behind the whole behind it all.
Absolutely, I think that's a really big point.
Also, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it's so important that you do keep a diary, because you know sometimes symptoms that you might think are menopausal symptoms may be something else, like night sweats. That could be caused by a huge range of different things. Sometimes more, you know, serious than
or
menopause.
Genuinely. In my house, our heating is set too hot overnight, and so just yesterday I was like, my husband, you need to turn that off, because I'm getting sweats and I'm concerned about my health, and it's actually just you've got the heating on too much overnight,
and it lowers the bills.
So I've been taking a journal of this for 3 weeks, and you've got the heating on. But so keeping track of all of the symptoms are obviously so important to go in well informed. Why do we have menopause? Why?
So it's a natural process of aging. When you get to around 45 to 55, your estrogen and progesterone levels just tend to drop naturally, and this causes a huge range of symptoms.
Is that like why? Like why do those levels drop? What's the need in our bodies for us to have less of those hormones? Is it because, like everything happens for a reason in your body? Everything everything is made for a reason. All your organs work in sync for a reason. You know, and I wonder, like, why do we need to have? Is it to do with birth? Is it to do with not getting pregnant? Is that the reason why?
I think naturally, as you age, as you get past, you know, 45 to 55, your body is preparing itself for a different stage in life. You know, being older, you're not going to have children at that age. it prepares you just for, it's just part of getting older, I guess, because obviously we don't enjoy the symptoms of menopause. You know, muscles, they break down due to these lowering hormones. Also affects your brain, your memory, which are all things that we don't really want to happen, but it is just part of aging, unfortunately.
And it's great, Michelle, that you're like bringing a voice to this like area of a woman's life that I have found, you know, women in my life who have been through the menopause, almost they don't want to speak about it in public. They think it's an embarrassing thing, which is wild because it's just another stage of our lives, the same as maybe adolescence was, the same as getting your first period was, the same as, you know, maybe being pregnant or whatever it is. It's just another stage. But why do you think we're embarrassed about it?
I think it's, and if you're talking about through cultural lens, I think it's, for one, with a lot of Black and Afro-Caribbean families, and women I should say, it's the realisation that actually our reproductive system is closing down. And, you know, that's quite a thing of, oh my gosh, there's a stigma around that. Especially if you haven't had children as well. You're not seen as young and sexy anymore, maybe, in the eyes of the male. So all of those, that could be a potential reason why there's that embarrassment around it.
And that term that's thrown at us all the time too, about your biological clock.
Your biological clock.
And technically they mean, oh, it's over when you hit the menopause. That's your biological, that's the alarm's gone off.
I mean, you know, even when you go into doctor's surgery, you're talking around, you know, pregnancy. You know, I had my last child, my little boy, when I was just shy of 42, and I was considered the geriatric mum in the
I hate how they say geriatric pregnancy. It's the worst term, isn't it?
I remember saying to the lady, geriatric lady, I'll outrun you any day. You know, so, you know, just, I think it's the language, and I always talk very much about, with my coaching hat on, about reframing the language, and actually reframing your outlook as well is really important. So if you're thinking about, it's the second spring of life. When you're getting in past midlife, it's the second spring of life. Generally, your children are a slightly bit older. You're more wiser. You've got more wisdom. You've got the people around you that really make you, who you know got your back and got your corner. So actually, it's a really nice place to be in. You know, and that in itself is, and I say it, and I say it with the greatest respect to everybody out there. Some women don't make it. I lost my sister-in-law a few weeks back at 51 years old. She would have loved to have been here with menopausal symptoms. So let's not take that for granted. A lot of women aren't making it. So let's embrace the fact that we're here. We're here to tell the tale. We're here to go and exhaust our options out there. And I think that's something that people miss. That process of actually you're lucky to be around.
Like aging is a luxury.
Aging is a privilege.
Privilege,
Aging is an absolute privilege. Wrinkles and all.
Embrace them.
Absolutely.
And it is that conversation that's like maybe like that we overhear from when we're so young. Like I have a boy and a girl, and I know I have to parent them so differently.
Absolutely.
Like because my girl, I feel like I'm protecting her from like a world of like, apparently when you're, you know, just when you're a girl, by the time you're 3 years old, you're self-aware of your body. And I think that's crazy. At 3 years old, and for a boy, it's much older. But we can do so much work with my kids are both under 3, and I feel like that is the age where we can do so much work.
Absolutely.
For how we talk about these issues when they get older, like where they'll hopefully not be such a stigma, and that women won't feel so shit about themselves 99% of the time. You know, those conversations are to be had with really. Even like anatomy, I talk to my children and call their body parts. They're the scientific terms for their body parts. You know, I don't. There's no funny terms.
Moo and minks and minky.
None of that. Do you know what I mean?
Your vulva and your vagina.
Your vulva,
you need to know this.
Exactly. And I'd be like, I'm going to clean your vulva now, and I even ask her before I clean her. And I'd be like, can I clean your vulva? And I'm like, please say yes, because you just peed. I need to clean.
I'm cleaning that anyway.
Honestly, even at GP surgeries now, you know, patients will come in and they won't say the word vagina. There is still such a stigma about it. They'll say, you know, down there, something's going on. And you're just like,
but it's more people. More people are afraid to say it than like we're probably 3 people who absolutely use the correct terms, but most people don't. Like that's not an action.
And they don't know them as well. There's part of that as well. So you know, this all goes back as well when we dig a little bit deeper. You know, talking about curriculum. You know, what are you teaching our kids out there? There's some things that need to be taught.
Yeah.
With the greatest respect, Pythagoras theorem, my child doesn't really need.
No.
Yeah, but she does need to know about her vulva.
Yeah.
It's not her vagina what you think it is.
Yeah.
You know, just certain bits of it they need to really know, and it reduce it. And hopefully they will be putting menopause in the curriculum too.
Well, was it ever mentioned when you were at school? I never met. Did they just think, oh, by the time you have to deal with that, you'll be old enough to figure it out yourself? I don't understand why that information was, because I'm sure there's lots of children in school where their mums are going through that.
They'll have their mums, because also as well, one thing we haven't touched on is the premature ovarian insufficiency, which is early menopause, which can happen. That's why I say we do 45 to 55, but there's women that I've met through my circles that are like 35, gone into surgical menopause, sometimes just gone into menopause for no reason. Yeah. You know, and again,
yeah, so I mean, you can start menopause at sort of any age. Sometimes we don't know the reason why people go into menopause. It could be genetic, it could be just lower hormones. So but it's anyone who has a period can go into menopause. So.
And I read some really rare cases of like teenage girls also.
We had a 19-year-old girl in Parliament last year with us, and she was 19 that went into early menopause.
So we call it early menopause, obviously.
Early menopause.
And then obviously that strips someone that young of the opportunity to carry children. You know, so that's
give them the options.
Another whole world to navigate. Yeah. There are some questions here I have that have been sent on that I'd like to put to you both, if you're okay. And here's actually a really interesting one as well. So, hi, I'm reaching out because I've recently entered the menopausal stage and I'm currently navigating the challenges of hot flushes. My husband and kids don't understand the feeling and always say that I'm being a drama queen, but the sudden surges of heat have become quite disruptive, and I'm in search for some advice and shared experiences to ease this aspect of the menopause. Have you faced similar struggles with hot flushes? And I'd greatly appreciate any insight into this. So I think that's obviously, as we talked about, like other people around not understanding, and how can you like help navigate almost that world where you're like, now I'm going through this physically and I'm also supposed to explain to everyone around me because nobody understands. Yeah.
So with the hot flashes, and again, this is talking through my lens, I never had hot flashes. But of course, I know a lot of women predominantly, and when you mention menopause, that's the first thing most people will think. Hot flashes is the biggest thing on the menopause. Actually, it's not everybody that will go through that. Right. However, I would say in response to that question, nighttime, you know, is when generally you overheat. So having the room, like you mentioned before, Priya, at a very nice temperature, 18 degrees, cooler. What you're wearing, cool things on the bed, you know, cool sheets on the bed, cotton. Really making an emphasis on that. And also what I've been told, again, through certain circles as well, is leading up to that, spicy food at nights can cause that, and alcohol can cause increase of heat temperature as well. So just looking at maybe a couple of those things, and again monitoring it as well. There are some medications out there that can help that, you know, natural herbal remedies that they should look into as well.
Priya, how long does somebody go through, like obviously that stage of like these physical symptoms of having hot flushes, like how long should that last? Like with someone, is it again, how long is a piece of string?
So, I mean, with hot flushes, the individual flushes themselves tend to last between 2 to 4 minutes. But then,
that's really long.
Yeah, so it can feel like a long time.
As well.
Exactly, and especially when you're trying to get to sleep, you know, this can wake you up. This can really affect, you know, your quality of sleep, and then consequently your quality of, you know, life. But in terms of generally the symptoms, they can last years, you know. HRT can definitely help in treating them, and you mentioned some medications. So as well as obviously like the natural stuff, there are medications such as clonidine, which is a blood pressure medication, and gabapentin, which is an epilepsy medication that you can use to treat these. Obviously speak to your GP about this, but there are ways to treat this. And we've mentioned, you know, making sure you have a good sleep environment. Also making sure you have low stress levels before you sleep can help. So maybe doing a bit of meditation, a bit of yoga, you know, whatever calms you down. And just
there's a massive conversation I find at the minute online about cortisol. Talk about
high
the stress
cortisol
hormone.
levels,
I
stress
feel like I'm
levels.
saying, I don't know if my algorithm is like, you need to de-stress, so it just keep giving me like about watching your cortisol levels and how much that affects.
It does affect
everything. Even like your hunger and
it does.
all these things that you don't realise. And how in the world that we live in can we reduce our cortisol levels?
Oh, that again is that's a magic question. I think that's down to you as the individual, but recognizing the awareness of recognizing, do you know what, this is sometimes a very stressful environment, taking yourself out of stressful environments, recognizing what you can make an addition to and what you can't. And I think that's very hard with women who are, you know, I'm the career woman, I'm the mother, you know, I'm also as well caring for my elderly mother as well. All of those factors. So it's about putting your hand up and saying, actually, I'm struggling here. And what support can I get?
And I think the three of us live in a world now too where, you know, we'd have watched our maybe mothers or grandmothers be the primary caregivers at home and the stay-at-home parents, and that was like the role of the woman in the household. Whereas now it's like you're expected to also have the career if you choose, but there still hasn't been that disconnect from the household. So actually now women are programmed to do both equally, and you're doing both. You know what I mean? And so that is like, I imagine the stress levels in the female body now are higher than they've ever been. Because you're taking on both those roles equally now.
I think you're right with that. Although I would say that more and more people now, women are more now being happy to hand things over and say, do you know what, that's not for me, that's not my remit. You can also take some ownership in that as well. And that's exactly how I'm raising my girls, you know. You know, this is a 50-50 partnership here. It's a partnership, it's not 80% mine, 20% yours.
Default parenting or nothing.
I'm not going back to the old Jamaican ways of my mum of, I'll do the washing, cooking and ironing. No, mummy, that ain't happening.
Other people are available.
Not in this house.
Michelle, I just wanted to touch on something that you said earlier. You said that I found quite interesting. You said that you use testosterone, and so could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, when I started my hormone replacement, which is a natural hormone replacement, I was on estrogen and progesterone, and I take 2 tablets for that. Because I can't have the coil, which a lot of women use the coil as part of their concoction as well. But because my cervix doesn't open and everything else, that's why I can't use that. So I was going on with that for a while with those 2, estrogen and progesterone. And then I went to my private doctor because things still weren't clicking in with my sex life. And I started taking testosterone, and I get that measured and then GPs now supply it where I'm living in South Wales, and they test it every 3 months just to make sure that my levels, but it wasn't just for the libido, it was for energy. And that's why my energy is so good at the moment, because I've got the balance right of my progesterone, estrogen, and my testosterone that I put on about twice a week now. And I just put a pea-size amount on there. I'm not going to turn into a man. I'm not going to be this. I'm not going to have hairy chins or anything else. But it gets monitored. It gets monitored regularly. The first one I had to buy privately, that cost me, when I told my husband, he said, that's school fees, babe. I said, yeah, but it's
he was
also,
like, am I that good?
Is it worth it? I was like, trust me, you'll be thanking me. You'll be thanking me.
Give me 24 hours and you'll be glad I spent that.
and it does help with it. So, you know, there's a big conversation around testosterone, and it is around what's the benefit, and straight away people just said it's for libido. No, mine has been for energy boosting and libido as well. See, this lack of energy and lack of libido is what I hear from most women that I know, honestly, especially ones who have kids, especially ones who are like post maybe 30, 35, even like that. And that is so interesting, because I did not know that taking testosterone could help with both of those things. Only for, generally though, you'll create it because you're younger, but this is more for menopausal, perimenopausal, later stages of women.
That's so interesting to know.
Whose estrogen levels are at the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a huge range of different things, you know, reduced libido. Menopause can affect you in so many different ways. Vaginal dryness.
Vaginal dryness. I forgot to mention that, actually. Another one to mention, guys, another one to add on to your list. I take Vagifem, which is an insert, an estrogen insert. And I take that twice a week. And that is increasing. So that stops urine incontinence, you know, where the muscles, bearing in mind I haven't had vaginal delivery, but it just stops that urge, and it stops a lot of UTIs. A lot of perimenopausal, menopausal women get a lot of UTIs.
It's worth actually having a look to the Balance Active products, because there's a range of products there for women's intimate health and vaginal
I think
dryness.
they do a moisture gel and like pessary as well for vaginal dryness.
So that's why. So these are things
important.
that with Balance Active, you can take these. You can take the Balance Active stuff that will help.
Yeah.
You know, with the vaginal dryness, because sometimes we've got to be very candid here. Women, they might even fancy having sex, but it's so dry down there.
But it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. So why would you want to?
And I would say a lot of people don't know that there are products available
There's products available that you don't have to get necessarily prescribed from your GP.
And that are natural and that won't be irritating.
So I used to get thrush all the time, so it's great that Balance Active now have got something for but I had that all the time before when I was younger with competing. Yeah. So but now it's great, there's so much more products on the market for that that can help those symptoms. So again, if somebody doesn't want to take the estrogen,
and I wonder, does underwear serve that purpose? Because I have only worn thongs since I was a teenager. That's it. And only recently, except for when I was having children, like my late stage, my pregnancy, I got my granny knickers on, because I was like, my arse will swallow this thong. So it's like, I'll put a pair of actual knickers on. But that's all I've ever known. And then I would feel, and you wonder like, oh, well, the thongs are bound to irritate your vulva. I was going to call it a doot there, which is what I call it. Sometimes don't use the wrong word, use the correct word.
I think it depends on the gusset.
Yeah.
Would you say?
That's a fantastic word.
I guess it's individual. Yes, all our vaginas are shaped differently. So the cover that you use on top of it needs to fit.
And the washing of it as well.
Yeah.
You see, I growing up, we used to sit in bubble bath and all.
Yeah.
And now I don't have anything like that around my vagina.
Yeah, because
my vulva is
the
very
pH
precious.
levels, obviously the imbalance of that.
Yeah,
I sound like a doctor. Yeah, of course. And so I actually have a few more questions here that I'd like to pitch to you from.
Sure.
So this is actually interesting. So it's about brain fog as well. Hi, I have been a meticulous and detail-orientated professional throughout my career as an accountant, but lately I find myself forgetting important details and struggling to concentrate during meetings. This cognitive fog adds an additional layer of stress, as I have recently just gotten a promotion and I'm trying to maintain my professional competence. Any advice on how I can resolve this, or at least minimise the brain fog? Is this one of those things where it's like, a storm we have to weather? Or how can you minimise brain fog?
So, I think we should start by just talking about why we have brain fog.
Yeah.
So the declining levels in estrogen, they can affect the neurons in your brain. So estrogen ultimately, or in some way, acts like a fuel to the neurons in your brain. And so when we have reduced levels of estrogen, these neurons don't get as much fuel, and so this is one of the reasons. Exactly, they're tired. This is one of the reasons why we have brain fog, and so we can't really do very much apart from treating the cause of it. So HRT, but then we can do other things in terms of your diet. We can make sure that we're having enough omega-3 fatty acids, which help with cognitive function. So Mediterranean diet is really good for that kind of thing. Lots of olive oils, that kind of food. And then just making sure you're getting good enough rest. We talked about, good sleep environment.
As regards like omega-3, I know, obviously, I think getting it directly from food is the best source, is it?
I get mine directly. I try and have oily fish 3 times a week now, and that will come in, just to be very clear, when you're talking about oily fish, I'm getting a lot of mine from salmon, mackerel, little tins of sardines. So I might just have sardines and a slice of sourdough with avocado and spinach. I really make a big effort on what I'm putting into my mouth. Yeah. So, you've got to do what you can to help yourself. It's all very well taking HRT. It's not the magic bullet. Yeah. You've got to do what else can you do. So it's about looking at, right, what can I do to help me all around? So whether that's taking some of the Balance Active bits that's out there, as well as good nutrition, sleep, meditating, deep breathing. There's so much stuff out there. Exercising, I as a personal trainer and Olympian, I guess I have to be out there and say to guys, get moving. Yeah. You will feel better if you move, And does that help with the brain fog? not necessarily, but you've got to do what you can.
Yeah.
And what's helped me with my brain fog, and there was times, I'm a public speaker, motivational speaker. I'd go into meetings and I'm like, hi, my name's Michelle Griffith-Robinson, and I've got brain fog, you know, and just say, look, I'm going through this, I need your support. So owning that, but of course, you know, it's a business I'm running. Yeah. I can't afford to be incompetent. So there is that added stress and pressure as well. Yeah. So it's about, again, really preparing. So what I would say in answer to the question is preparing what you can do as much as you can, you know, alleviating some of the stress so that you've got a few certain really succinct pointers when you're doing what you're doing. Write things down, write it down, you know, get it on a paper and get somebody to support you on that journey.
Has there been any instances throughout your experience of your whole, like the whole menopause experience, that have made you laugh? Like anything that has just went, this is so silly, like this is, you know. Yeah, there has. I don't know if it made me laugh, but it's something that I have never actually shared it actually. So an exclusive.
This is an exclusive. It's embarrassing.
No, there is no embarrassment there.
This is my favourite sort of story, Michelle.
No, seriously, this was, oh my gosh, no, don't. I'd had the period and I forgot my tampon inside of me.
Oh, I've done that. How long was it there for? A long time. A long time.
I even went to my GP, had an internal, they didn't find it.
Wow.
And I just kept saying to my husband, Matt, and he said, Mish, you did a women's health shoot, Mish, but I didn't see you take it. I said, I did. Yeah. And I was convinced I'd taken it out and I hadn't.
No.
And I wouldn't say it was funny, but I would say that the end result was I just praised God, because it can cause toxic shock syndrome.
Yes, of course, yeah. But it found its way out.
I found it.
You found its way out.
Wow, and the internal examination didn't take up on it.
No.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, no. That's shocking.
And that she tried, and just go show you about the different, you know, how your vulva's placed and where your vagina's placed and tilted and everything else.
Yeah.
I would say that's happened to me twice.
God, don't make it happen again, yeah.
And now you have to it's like
no, honestly,
do you know what it is?
It's
like women math. Like there's so many things you have to remember all the time, really all day long.
But that's I wouldn't say it's the funniest one, but that's one where I was just like, Jesus.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Now you look back on it.
At the time,
I
was like, oh
but this is the thing, because at the time, like, you're probably not gonna like phone your mates the next day and go, what is that, a tampon on me for 2 weeks? Like, but like looking back, you can go, that was
2
so
weeks
silly.
It was there. I was like, oh my God. My husband was like, I did tell you. I was like, forget you. I know you're right.
Yeah, like these things happen.
It does happen.
It does happen, and like it's if you can look, as long as everything's healthy in the end.
It was in the end, and I did speak to a couple of my friends who are doctors, and they're like, "Oh, Michelle, it's one of the common things we get. Women forget them up there, and we have to try and sieve them out." But the fact that you had an internal, goes to show you that you are a different shape to most women. They would have found that.
They should come with a magnet, so you just put another magnet.
That's no idea.
Yeah.
You'd have to find the string with the shoe, with like a horseshoe.
Yeah, you imagine. Tug of war.
I'll make it more fun as well. Make a game out of it. I have one more. So I have started the menopause officially a few months ago, and since then my sleep has been the worst it's ever been. Tips on overcoming the challenges of sleep deprivation, as well as trying to get a better night's sleep. Now we did touch on that. I mean, as a mum of 2 young children, I don't need to go through the menopause right now to understand that I have sleep deprivation. Like you lose like apparently like 133 nights worth of sleep in the first year of after having a baby, and it ruins everything from how you even approach the day.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure when you're losing sleep and going through the menopause, it's your approach to it is so almost negative that it's so difficult to do the things like you're saying. Like here's self-help is so difficult.
Yeah.
Especially
absolutely.
when you're sleep deprived.
Yeah. So I would say with that, sleep again, and it goes back to everything we've really been pushing in terms of looking at, your screen time, in terms of, that's something that's within our, which was within our gift. We can do that.
Yeah.
So your sleep time, looking about how you wind down towards your sleep as well.
Yeah.
Looking at your foods, you know, big on that. Are you getting enough exercise? Are you getting enough vitamin D outside?
Yeah.
Which all of those things will help you to settle down into a good night's sleep. So, you know, of course, you know, if you choose not to take any hormone replacement, that's fine.
Yeah.
But what can you do to help your sleep? So you touched on it earlier on, the environment, your nutrition, your hours going into sleep. Is it stressful? You know, what are you doing? Getting off your phone an hour and a half before. Caffeine intake as well. Looking at stuff like that, your caffeine intake.
And Priya, like I know some people who can have 5 hours sleep a night and kill it the next day, and then other people who literally need 10. And why can some people like have the same amount of energy on half the amount of sleep?
I mean, I think there's a huge like range of reasons, but I mean, I guess if one person, usually you do tend to need between 6 to 8 hours. That is meant to be the optimal amount of sleep. So I guess someone who's constantly having 5 hours of sleep, eventually it will, you know, catch up with them. But I just want to mention one of the things that can cause bad sleep during the menopause, which is sleep apnea. So when you go through your menopause, your soft tissues in your throat can become a little bit more collapsible, so you tend to snore a bit more.
That's what my husband was saying to me before.
And also you tend to get...
You were like, you liar.
I'm like, film it, I want evidence.
But that's true. I've never heard of that.
And also during the menopause you can gain weight, which can,
huge.
Together those things can cause something called sleep apnea, which is when your breathing becomes a bit more shallow when you sleep. It can start and stop. And so we need to... things that we can do obviously to help with that are things like exercising, weight loss, that kind of thing, which can help to have better quality of sleep too.
Which is difficult because at that time in your life it is so much harder to lose weight.
Yeah, it is. It's harder. It's harder because the estrogen levels, your estrogen receptors.
Yeah.
You know, so it's harder to lose weight. You gain more weight, and then you have to think to yourself. With the whole thing when you're talking around weight issue is what it does to your self-esteem.
Yeah.
But also when someone's turning around and telling you, you know, you need to exercise more and eat less. All you want to do is go for the craving things because your energy levels are low. But all knowing that actually in the long run, it's not helping you, is it?
Yeah.
But it's all very well. Like I said, I've got my clients come to me all the time, Michelle, you know, whether it's for personal training or life coaching, and I get them to write things down, and I say, but ultimately this is your journey. But when they're tired and they're fatigued because they haven't had a good night's sleep the night before because they've been hot sweating, you know, it's kind of it's a catch-22, like you said.
And so obviously as a life coach, like everything you do is about empowering other people and encouraging other people to live their best lives. And I always, as a comedian, I always use the analogy of, you know, who makes the clown laugh. Yeah. You know, with comedians, you know, we're very sad people. But you know, like, no, I'm joking. But obviously, like, you know, other people come to you to be entertained and to laugh and to provide, to have respite. Yeah. And then it's like, who makes the comedian laugh? Yeah,
exactly.
You know, it's like that,
so
story of like,
who do I go to?
The clown goes to the doctor and there's go see the clown, that sort of thing. So for you, like, obviously, that's like a lot of pressure when that's literally like, that's your income, that's your whole vibe, that's your branding, where you're an empowering, positive woman. And like, I'm sure there's times where you're like, I cannot be arsed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
So for me, it's about recognising. So I'm at the stage again, midlife, where I know what makes my boat float. I know who's in my corner. I know what I need. I'm very clear. My boundaries are there. My guidelines are there. I have a very good framework about what I need. So I have my own life coach. I also see a therapist as well. And I tap into resources that are going to help me thrive. And I learned, the biggest thing I learned was saying no. And that's a big thing for a lot of women.
What's that quote? No is a full sentence?
Well, see, for me, my no is next opportunity. Next opportunity is no. And actually, no, I don't have to give you an explanation.
Yeah, that's it. No's a full sentence. I don't need to explain myself.
I don't need to explain myself. So it's about recognising that, and it's that again is around boundaries. And people respecting your boundaries as well. So, you know, I'm okay with where I'm at. But I do reach out, and I'm not as scared to. Whereas before, it was like this false pretense of, you know, you have to put on this really pretty picture that everything's. No, shit is hard. I'm struggling. I need support. where am I going to get that support from?
Absolutely, and talking goes a huge
Absolutely.
way. Just talking to someone, going to your GP, even if it's for 10 minutes, having a little chat with your GP. There are lots of other therapies, cognitive behavioural therapies, which are shown to help people who are struggling in the menopause. Yeah. So, just speaking to someone, it can make a world of a difference.
I think it's massive. The communication side of things is massive. Trying to get an appointment, with GPs and stuff is very difficult.
Yeah.
There was some mention of CBT towards the end of 2023 and how they're going to, put that on there. Well, hello, the doctor's lists are full. Yeah. You're hardly going to get an appointment for CBT, and if you do, what does that cost? The cost of that is huge. Yeah. But I'd say get yourself a community of women around you because there's a lot of us out there that have got lots of stories to share, and that can then end up being your cushion that you need, that group of women to thrive in this next stage of life.
Because obviously, there are, everyone has those days, and a lot of people have those days more than the positive days where you're I can't get started to find the solution. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's great to know the life coach has a life coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
you're never done learning. And a therapist.
Life coach and a therapist that you've got to have things that are going to help me to be on my A game. Yeah. 80% of the time. Yeah. And the 20% of the time, it don't matter what therapist I got, what coach I got, I'm out of here. I need some time back.
I think especially when you're women like you two, where you're professionals that work at such a high level as well, and you're the qualities that you have are both very admirable, and you're both very intelligent, and you both sort of kill in your both fields, and I feel like that is exhausting. It's exhausting mentally and physically, and I think as well when you couple that with going through women's intimate health problems menopause or even pregnancy or all those different experiences that we go through, that it's draining from all angles, but you're expected to keep your head above water. You're expected to still do the same thing. I know in my house, I'm adamant that I can do it all, and then I just crash and burn at some stage, and it usually ends in me in tears in a bathroom. Yeah, just solution. With a toddler outside going, "Mummy, can I watch Peppa?" I'm crying.
Solution, and I guess that's part of it. These conversations that we have around intimate women's health. Part of that is looking at our physical, mental health as well. What can we do to support each other mentally? Because that's a massive thing, trying to carry all of these things and trying to make the circle keep going round and round and round. It's a big thing. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that I've got rid of, and saying, no, I need some help, and reaching out for help and support where you need it. Whether that's talking around, how you're feeling, whether it's talking that you're struggling about something, whether it's talking about your career. So that's why, yes, I'm beneficial, but I also know that not everybody can afford to access me as a life coach or a mentor. I know they can't afford to access me, so I try and do as much as I can with my 3 charities that I work for, which is the Menopause Charity, Diabetes UK and Women's Aid. Right. Because I give back to women in that way as well. Yeah. And I think that's an important part of it for me, where I feel great every day, is because I'm giving back as well.
How different do you think you are as a person now, and this is for all of us, I suppose, than who you were, say, in your early 20s? I know as we get older that we get the confidence to say no and know who you are, and have the correct people in your life who can help you through these sort of periods in your life. But I wish, and I feel like it never happens, but I wish that I had the same definitive responses when I was 20. I wish I knew who I was when then, and I know it's the course of life that it takes a long time to learn who you are. But imagine you had that same, when you were 20, if you were able to go, no, I know exactly who I am. Do you know what I mean? How different are you as a person now than when you were say competing?
Just to let you know on camera, I'm a very different person to what I was in my 20s. Yeah. I was in abusive relationships, so straight away I didn't have the confidence to walk away. Right, okay. To know my value and my worth. Whereas now, or should I say for the last 20 years, I certainly know my value and my worth. Yeah. So I'm very different. I've got my non-negotiables. I'm very strong around what I'm prepared to accept. And I don't suffer from FOMO, so I'm happy to walk away and not be involved in situations. So
not being bothered by FOMO is
doesn't bother me. Not bothered.
That's the best.
I'm not bothered. I'm very, very now. And I don't have that 6-pack like I did when I was an Olympian. I'm not the face of Nike like I was then. I'm the face of Michelle, and I love me. I'm proud of me. Yeah. I'm proud of what I've accomplished. I'm proud of what I've achieved. and I'm proud of the circle of people around me. So that is something that I'm much better off now than I was when I was in my 20s.
That is so gorgeous to hear you say that you love you. That is so lovely.
Love me.
I love me too. I'm very happy with
self-empowerment is so important, especially for women.
Oh my gosh, it's so important.
We are constantly taken down day-to-day basis. We need that within ourselves.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for all of your beautiful insights into the world of menopause that I will now look forward to.
Absolutely, and at least you'll be well informed.
I'll be a wee bit more informed.
More informed and less scared.
Less scared.
Yeah,
less scared.
Absolutely. Where can the wonderful listeners find both of yourselves on? Find you online, Michelle?
So I'm on at Michelle Griffith-Robinson on Instagram, Robinson OLY on Twitter. And do you know what I always say to people? It's all very well finding me. Make sure you find you first.
Oh, isn't that lovely? And then Priya, you're online as well.
Yes, at Priya Gopaldas on Instagram. Gopaldas is spelled phonetically. Gopaldas.
That is. And I'm Dean Dorda Comedy. Thank you so much for joining us in the V Revolution. Thank you so much for joining us in the V Revolution podcast. We will see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.